Couple of months ago I uploaded a video titled "The Reason CS2 has no rainy maps." In it I explained my thoughts on why throughout the whole history of Counter-Strike only a few rainy maps were ever officially included, and all of them were eventually removed. It's one of my finest works, and I was quite happy with its reception and performance. But ever since Train got added, I've been getting comments saying that the rain video aged poorly. But did it really? Well, let's go over the points I made against rainy maps and see how Valve addressed them with their new Train remake. So, aside from the rain particles muddying up the visuals, most rainy maps historically were also darker and foggier than their sunny counterparts. This isn't even necessarily bad. Maps like Insertion used reduced visibility as a part of its gameplay and layout structure. But for classic Counter-Strike, for that competitive feel, Train needed some good visibility. So Valve set it during a sunny day. I mean, of course it's overcast as hell, but you can actually see gaps between the clouds that reveal a rich blue sky that tries its best to illuminate the level. As well, it barely has any fog. You can look from one end of the map to the other without problems. This makes overall Train's visibility not too far from other maps in CS2, and its gloomy overcast feel is more achieved with the grey colors of its lighting, as well as its lack of discernible shadows. But also going back to the rain particles I mentioned, already back then in my video I speculated. I honestly think you can probably even get away with completely removing the rain particles and relying solely on sounds and puddles. And this is basically what Valve has done. Across the map there's barely any visible raindrops, with the few there are only appearing near light sources or as a splashing texture on the floor. And I mean, that's sort of how it works in real life. Not that I would know, since I'm sitting here editing this instead of enjoying the weather. But yeah, basically Valve gave Train a genuine rainy feel with minimal impact possible on the gameplay. Impressive, very nice. Hearability was also a big factor in me determining rain to be less desirable in competitive gameplay, since it often makes footsteps much harder to hear. Most CS players are already on the way to get permanent hearing damage just playing normally, no need to make it worse for them. But once again, Valve had a couple of sneaky tricks up their sleeve. Take a listen. Here's the rain in T-Spawn. Pretty normal. Here's the rain in CT-Spawn. All good. But here's the rain in A-Side. It's like half the volume, even though you are standing in the open directly under the rain. Like, I'm no sound engineer, but I don't think the difference realistically would be that dramatic. It's most likely done for gameplay purposes, to make it easier for CTs to listen in on T-ups, for example. That's kinda smart. Similarly on B, in this spot, even though it's directly raining through a hole in the ceiling, this puddle doesn't make any sound at all. As well, the indoor areas around the map completely lack rainy ambience. You would think that you would still be able to hear the rain splashing on the windows or the ceiling, but no, it's entirely quiet, with harsh cutoffs between inside and outside ambience. So once again, Valve minimized the negative impact of rain ambience by making it quieter the closer you are to an important gameplay area. That's nice. And lastly, one of the biggest concerns people used to have with rainy maps was their performance. Especially back in CSGO, its water reflections effect was achieved by literally rendering the game a second time on the surface of the water. I personally think this effect is super nice, and my RTX 2060 didn't suffer from it too much, but as we know, Counter-Strike players are up and ready to sacrifice their entire bloodline for 10 extra FPS on Mirage. But in CS2 the water reflections now use super efficient parallax cube maps that barely affect performance. The droplets on your arms too are using a very efficient shader, as well as the whole game is just more demanding to run than CSGO, so spending a few FPS on rain doesn't feel too out of place. So overall, this new Train really did address all of the rain-related issues I mentioned. Now, of course, other gameplay aspects of Train aren't fully there yet, but that's what updates are for. The rain is pretty close to perfection. But does all of this mean I was wrong in my original video? Well, I'd say the only thing I was wrong about is thinking that developing rainy maps was entirely in the community's hands, with Valve not really taking them seriously. I'm genuinely impressed by developers on this one, making a bunch of new shaders and effects, masterfully implementing them on their own map, and then letting all of the community use and learn from them. This is like amazing. This is genuinely really cool stuff. So let's say I'm glad that the title of my video aged poorly. But you know what doesn't age poorly? Subscribing to T2... Yeah guys, if you like the video, subscribe, like, all of that stuff, it really helps me out. And I will see you with a new upload next Friday, but for now, bye bye.